listening to the ProgAxia podcast.
Next one is Brain Salad Surgery. Track I played was Karn Evil 9, First Impression, both parts 1 and 2. Yeah.
I'm gonna hold up the vinyl because I mean, great vinyl and the artwork. I mean, this is as everyone probably knows, it's H.R. Geiger, Alien, and you can see some of the influence there. Yeah, you just keep on opening it up, and there's more to it, and inside you've got more pull-out stuff. I mean, and you got this stuff which you then open up, and you got the band's members, and it just keeps going.
I know. This is when album covers.
A gift that keeps on giving. You got the
huge, just album covers are so amazing in them days.
And oh my word, and a bit like Dark Side, an album that just sort of blew me away for different reasons. But it was just like, what is going on here? I want to listen to this again for slightly different reasons because. I didn't get half of it. I didn't get a chorus of it probably. And what was going on? How were they making that sound? What did it all mean? And wow, I think I probably overplayed it over the years. But you know what? I haven't listened to it for so long. I'm going to go back to it. And
you're right. I actually put it on. Obviously, to do the show, I sort of going through it all and that sort of thing. And getting the vinyl out and having a look at it and going through it and trying to experience what I experienced at the time when I first started listening to this. And again, I had to go back to these things. I didn't get it when it first came out. I've actually spoken to a few people who did, and it was for them totally different to anything else out there. And because of that, I think it's not just worth a mention. It's like it's worth putting it up there. I mean, the Brain Salad Surgery for me, I came in through this more.
Yeah,
this is really the first thing I really bought from ELP, and this album's brilliant as well. I mean, just the whole cover and everything.
Yeah.
But this is where I sort of came into it, and I remember listening to things like Toccata and Jerusalem off that, and they did Karn Evil 9 on it, and amazing, just blew me away, loved it. So I went out and I bought Brain Salad Surgery because I just thought, I've got to get the studio album of it. But Karn Evil 9 is incredible. I mean, it's a 30-minute piece, and like a lot of progressive rock, and it's the sort of thing that people sort of have a go at it because it's like, call it overblown and blah blah blah. Sodom, The thing is, I love longer pieces of music, and because you get really into it. But when you read the story, when you try and listen to the lyrics and go through it and try and understand it and things like that, it's brilliant. But just on listening to it, you get a vibe. It's obviously a sci-fi backdrop to the track, and just the last part of it is mad. It's mental, and it really stimulated my imagination that it was computers versus man, who's going to win that battle between computers versus man and things like that. But the whole thing is just so well written, so well put together, and let's not forget the music is astonishing. Keith Emerson's keyboards, just mind-blowing. The technicality of it all, but the musicality of it as well is just absolutely incredible. And you put that against, the bass and the drums and the vocals and everything else that goes with it. It's just a beautiful piece. Karn Evil 9 is just like mind-blowing.
So like you're holding up Welcome Back, My Friends, to the show never ends, the triple live, and that was probably my entry point because just the age I was. And then, like some people do, I sort of like went back and heard the first album, heard Pictures, heard Tarkus, and I if I'd have been there at the time, I wouldn't have been able to foresee that Brain Salad Surgery was going to be the next stopping point because it was like Spinal Tap have got their amplifiers that go up to 11. Now this is a band with their creativity, dialed up to 11, 12. I mean, so many ideas in just a few minutes, and it was only later I learned that some of those sounds, which I assume was Emerson, was actually Carl Palmer because he was adapting his drum kit to make different sounds.
Yeah.
And it was just like, really, I didn't know that. And then of course I didn't know what brain salad surgery actually meant, and eventually I found out. And as people probably know, the album was originally going to be called Whips and Skull Candy on You, and that and Brain Salad Surgery both are references to a certain pleasurable act that gentlemen enjoy. And they had to airbrush some of the artwork because it was a bit too phallic and a bit too graphic, and that all added to the interest and the allure. And there's more levels to this, and as well as the wonderful Karn Evil. There you had Jerusalem. Hey, I recognise that. That's a good start. You've drawn me in now, and it's got Benny the Bouncer on it, and it's like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. That's a bit of fun, and but then you got the Yes link with the engineering. You've got Pete Sinfield who helped with the lyrics, and that's King Crimson, and it's just like there's an interconnected world here that I'm just about getting to understand fairly. That was all part of the attraction. It was just why you listen to it again and why you read the lyric sheets and all the rest of it. I mean, just incredible creative, and for people who are relatively young to come up, 3 people to come up with something like this at that age in their life, absolutely astounding.
That's why it's so incredible. I mean, if you take out something like Benny the Bouncer, which is, it's good to chuck in a fun track. It really is good to chuck in a fun track, and it is a good fun track. But if you look at it, you got, Jerusalem, obviously, William Blake, all of that stuff, sort of high level stuff, But you take Toccata, Ginastera's Toccata, which is just a piece of classical music, modern classical music, and the sound of that, and you got these drums that Karl Palmer was using, synthesized drums at the time, which no one else was really doing apart from probably, I don't know, maybe some early disco, but I've had a synthesized drum occasionally, but no one was doing any of this stuff. And it was real cutting edge stuff that no one else was doing. No one else was playing like Keith Emerson, apart from maybe a couple of German bands that we love and we're going to be talking about at some point as well. But then you got Still You Turn Me On, and the whole is Karn Evil 9 suite. To me, it's the pinnacle, because I went back and listened to some of the older stuff, like Pictures and Exhibition, and Pictures and Exhibition and things like that. And I never really got into it as much as I got into this. This again. I talk a lot about my versions of the bands. It's like my version of Hendrix, my version of Emerson Lake Palmer, and this was definitely my Emerson Lake Palmer. This is the level that I went in at, and just blew me away. It was I call myself a kid, sort of 16, 17, listening to this.
Yeah,
I just couldn't believe that music could do this sort of stuff. This is what interested me so much in progressive rock in the first place, because we've talked about sort of listening to music and listening on the radio in mono and listening to pop music and things like that, and then suddenly you get immersed into the world of Yes and Genesis and Emerson Lake and Palmer and Gentle Giant and stuff like that, and suddenly the world's different. It's just completely different, and music is different. And I think we've talked about this before. It's like it could be like a bit of a gateway into listening to jazz music, for instance, or to listening to classical music, which I would probably have never walked into if I hadn't gone through listening to progressive rock. I mean, I had no idea who Ginastera was, so I would never have. But it made me go and listen to the classical version of Toccata.
Yeah.
So it's a gateway as well to anything else.
To me, the other thing about it was, I guess I was intimidated by it. So whereas I could listen to Dark Side and think, Rick Wright, I could be a kind of Rick Wright type of player. I could kind of do that.
Yeah.
Even yes, Wakeman was obviously very talented. Had been classically trained, even though I don't think he ever graduated. But I thought, well, that's a stretch, but maybe I could be that type of player one day. But I would listen to something like this and just go, nah. I'm never going to get there, and that's okay, because that is amazing what's going on there. I mean, the other stuff is amazing in its own different ways. But in terms of being pretty much intimidated by the level of technical ability, dexterity, creativity, imagination, it was like, wow. Yeah, just scale back my aspirations.
Again, one of the again, it would be in one of my top 10s for progressive rock. I think just incredible album.